Hi, it's Mrs. Davies. Let's talk fossils for a second. So, there's some really well known types of animals that we only know because of the fossil record or finding their bones that have been turned back into minerals. They've been in the ground for so long under pressure and heat. Those would be dinosaurs, right? We don't have dinosaurs running around on Earth today, but 65 million years ago, and even well before that, we had these animals, relations of modern day birds and reptiles that walked the earth. And the only reason we know about them is that we have found their fossilized or mineralized bones in the ground. Here in North America, there's a bunch of other animals that we only know because of the fossils we found. Some of the early horses, some of the early members of the sloth family, some of the early members of the elephant family or the mammoths. So some of the early members of the shark family, if we start talking about critters in the ocean. And about 200 million years ago, Indiana was covered by a shallow ocean or a shallow sea. So a lot of the fossils that we find here in Indiana are actually related to the animals that lived in the ocean. So this is just a fun chart up here at the top. It's got some of the names, the scientific names of some animals that are now extinct that we have discovered and studied through their fossils. And you might notice it looks a little like gobbledygook. If you try sounding them out using your awesome skills, they are going to sound like words you've never really heard before, most of them. But some of them you might recognize a little bit of the words, and those come to us from Latin and Greek roots. You know, Latin and Greek were some of the earliest languages, and when early scientists started naming some of the finds that they had in their hands, they went with a system of scientific naming so that it makes a certain amount of sense, and we can talk more about that later. But this is just a fun sheet to wrap your head around some Greek and Latin. So I did the first one first, but let's go through it together. So equus, if you come down here and look under the Latin words, these are all done alphabetically, but here's equus right here. That is the Latin word for horse. And splendens, and if we break that up, it's actually two words stuck together. Let me scoot this here. We've got simplici, which is the Latin word for simple, and dens, which is the Latin word for tooth. Think of a dentist, right? They get their name from that Latin root as well. Or if you know someone who's had to have a denture put in, some pretend teeth, right? Because they've lost some of their own. There's that Latin root again from the word dens for teeth. So if we look at all those together, equus simplidens is a simple tooth horse. And some of our early horse species do not have the same teeth. That's how we could tell that we were not looking at a modern horse tooth. If you found the jaw or the tooth bones of one of these animals, it wouldn't look like modern day horses. It's changed over millions of years. So that is the name of that fossil, the simple toothed horse. And if you want to see pictures of some of these, you guys can go through and figure these out yourselves. But if you want to go and look at pictures of these animals, you can go find them on your favorite search engine. Fossils. They're cool.